Hi everybody, I'm Charlie. This is On Air, my Beatles collection. Well, yesterday was the release date for several Ringo albums on color vinyl. Actually, the first four albums. So that would be Sentimental Journey, Beaucoup Blues, Ringo, and Goodnight Vienna, all on different colors. So as much as I like to consider myself to be a completist, when it comes to Ringo's albums, I have to confess I'm not a completist. Actually, my favorite period of Ringo albums is after 1980 and everything since. Every album he's done in the last, let's say, the last 30 years, I've actually liked. Every album has at least a half a dozen songs that I think are pretty good. The first two albums, Sentimental Journey and Beaucoup Blues, honestly, I had no interest in at any point in my Beatles collecting or Beatles listening or solo Beatles listening years. But when I saw that they were coming out with all these different color vinyl albums, and like I said, yesterday was those four, but this year there were two variations of Ringo Rama. There was at least one or two variations of his soundstage album. So I was in on those because I like the newer stuff, and I like the soundstage. I've heard it. I didn't have a copy of it. And Ringo Rama, I thought was a good album. And coming soon in the month of November is the Liquid vinyl album of Stop and Smell the Roses. A couple of good songs on there, not one of his better albums in my opinion, but I was hooked by the Liquid vinyl gimmick, for want of a better word. So the Liquid vinyl will be coming soon. But yesterday I did receive in this box right here the Ringo album. Even though, that's, kind of contrary to what I just said, that was his best album of the 70s, in my opinion. By far his best album of the 70s. And, it's a great album. And it sold well. It was a big hit album. It had no less than 3 top 40 hits on it, singles. So my copy on vinyl is the original copy. And, of course, I have it on CD, too, which came out, at least... 20 years after that. But anyway, so I just took it out of the box, and here it is, Ringo. Nice to have a brand new, clean, shiny copy of this. I've already taken the shrink off of it because I'm not one that keeps the shrink on. What I do often do is when I peel the shrink off, I take the hype sticker. Because these days, the hype stickers seem to come off pretty easily, and you can stick them on something if you want to. I usually put the albums in my own poly sleeve. In this case, there was no hype sticker. It was in shrink wrap, but there was no stickers on it at all, which surprised me because it is color vinyl. But let's start with, does it have the booklet? The original booklet? Sure does. I wasn't sure if it would, but it does. Every last page. I haven't read through it, so I'm not sure if it makes any reference. Okay, right inside the front cover. Can you see that? Yeah. Right inside the front cover, it says a Capitol Records release 2025, Calderstone Productions Limited, a division of Universal Music Group, Apple Corps Limited, and so on. So, other than that, it is the same booklet. So it gives credit to all the people that were on here, and it gives thanks to Chris and Cynthia and Linda and Maureen and Patty and Tina. Special thanks to Mal Evans and Hillary Gerard, Robbie Robertson, Levon Helm, Rick Danko, Garth Hudson. They appear courtesy of Capitol Records. Nicky Hopkins and David Bromberg appear courtesy of Columbia Records. Harry Nilsson appears courtesy of RCA Records. Billy Preston appears courtesy of A&M Records. I wonder if that's if that was changed since the original. I don't have the original album here with me, so I can't check that. But I'm thinking Billy Preston was on Apple at the time, not A&M Records, but I could be wrong. Martha Reeves appears courtesy of MCA Records. Mary Clayton and Tom Scott appear courtesy of Ode Records. Mark Bolan appears courtesy of Warner Brothers Records. So it doesn't mention John Lennon, George Harrison, or Paul McCartney, and they, of course, all appear in various places on this album, right, starting with the first song on the album, John Lennon's I'm the Greatest, with sole credit to John Lennon. It's not a Lennon-McCartney, it's John Lennon. And of course, we've recently heard John's version of I'm the Greatest, which he didn't really have the nerve to sing. He thought it would be, come across the wrong way, but he thought Ringo was perfect for it. So, and John does appear on the song and a backup. So anyway, the whole book is sort of illustrated lyrics and so on. And I won't go through the whole book. You probably are familiar with that, but it's nice to know that it's in here. And I'm looking to see if the last page, no, it doesn't. Okay, I thought the last page might have the performance credits. The performance credits are actually on the back of the album. And I don't recall if they were on the original album on the back. But of course you have John and George, Billy Preston and Klaus Voormann, along with Ringo on I'm the Greatest. I'm just going to talk about the ones that involve Beatles. Other than Ringo, of course. And, of course, Photograph, which has the writing credit to Ringo and George. And George sings harmony on that. That does not, let's see, 12-string acoustic and harmony vocal, George Harrison. Klaus Voormann is on Photograph, too. Sunshine, Life for Me has George on guitar, and George is also the author of that. And then most of the members of the band are on that. Robbie Robertson plays guitar, Levon Helm, mandolin, Rick Danko is on fiddles, Garth Hudson is on the accordion, then Klaus Voormann again on bass, in this case upright bass, and George is also on backing vocals. Then there's Your 16, with, of course, Ringo is always on drums. Harry Nilsson is a backing voice there. Nicky Hopkins is on piano. And Paul McCartney, of course, does what they call here the mouth sax solo. Some of you might know it as a kazoo. Anyway, that was Paul's famous contribution to Your 16. Devil Woman has Klaus Voormann and Jim Keltner and those folks on. Tom Scott, no other Beatle involvement. You and Me was written and given credit to George Harrison and Mal Evans. And, of course, Ringo's on drums again. George is on electric guitar. Nicky Hopkins is on electric piano. Tom Scott arranged the horns. Then you got, that's all side one, by the way. Or is it? No, sorry, that's side two. Also on side two, Oh My My, with Billy Preston on piano and organ. Klaus Voormann on bass. Tom Scott does the sax solo. Tom also arranged the horns. And Martha Reeves, Mary Clayton, and friends doing the backing vocals. And then Step Lightly has Nicky Hopkins and Klaus Voormann. Tom Scott again, only in this case it's clarinets that he's arranged. And then the third track on that is 6 O'Clock, which gives writing credit to Paul and Linda McCartney. And then Paul plays piano and synthesizers. Bass is Klaus Voormann. Backing vocals Paul and Linda. And strings and flutes arranged by Paul McCartney. So I got those a little bit out of sequence because they have side one and the songs go this way, and side two, they start here and they go here. I read these first, so if you're wondering what the sequence is, it's actually this way, and then these two. And if you want to pause that, you can read it all for yourself again. I left out some of the other names. Anyway, that's that. And it's kind of a matte finish. It's not a shiny finish. It's a matte finish. And that's the same gatefold that you would have remembered from way back when. And then here's the record. And the first thing I'm going to do here is put my gloves on, because lately I've had bad habits and I've been manhandling some of the things that I've shown you here without putting my gloves on. And some people have actually commented about it, that I'm not following my own discipline about the gloves. So let's put the gloves on and do the right thing before we manhandle the vinyl. They're a little tricky to get on because I have fat hands like the rest of me. Anyway, so paper sleeve, no poly lining. That'll change in about 10 minutes after I finish this video. And then here's the vinyl. When it first comes out of the white sleeve, it almost looks black. It actually looks redder on camera than it looks in person. And I'm also looking at it through a light, so I can see through it. You can't see through it, but I can see through it. And you can't see my pretty face through there. So it's supposed to be translucent. They call it molten lava. They didn't even say it was red. They said it was molten lava. It is red. It is marbled. And when you hold it up to the light, you can really see the black marbling in it. But you can't see it. You can't see it here. But anyway, I'm a sucker for color vinyl for one thing, and I really like the Ringo album, and I haven't upgraded it in 50 years, more than 50 years, because it came out, more than 50 years ago. Ringo doesn't do anything with the anniversaries. He just does whatever he does when he does it. So, a lot of us thought and hoped that we would get a Ringo Super Deluxe box set for, with the Ringo album as the basis, and then whatever else was going on in his life, and, whether it was a video, theatrics, or, or it was, any other recording that went on, or, alternate takes or whatever. And we thought we'd get a Super Deluxe box for the 50th anniversary, or excuse me, the 50th anniversary. But we didn't get one, and there was really no mention of one, other than in fandom there was mention. But now, he's on this color vinyl kick. Almost every album has had a color vinyl, and several have had a picture disc. I really, where does it end from a collecting point of view? I can't collect all of it, and I'm certainly not going to collect albums that I didn't really like very much in the first place. And that's true with many of Ringo's 1970s albums. I do have Goodnight Vienna. I did get in on a couple of the color vinyls, but I'm not trying to get them all. I don't have a checklist, and I'm not trying to check them all off the list. I have every Paul album in multiples. I have every John album in multiples. I have every George album in multiples. I don't have every Ringo album, but I have most, if not all, of his post-1980 albums. So, I like the rock and roll stuff, and he's had some very, very good bands. And I like the country album, Look Up, that came out last year, as opposed to Beaucoup of Blues, which, you could argue is a country album. And I didn't care for it at all, but the Look Up album, I think it's phenomenal. I mean, it's Ringo. He sounds good, and he's got really, really good musicians working with him. A lot of good harmonies, backing vocals, duets. It's a great album. I love a lot of the stuff, that he did over the years. Don't Go Where the Road Don't Go, and I could, make a list. I didn't make a list, but I like a lot of Ringo stuff. I know there's not a big market for it. I know he's not the biggest seller anymore. He barely sells anything. I have all the EPs that he's done in the last couple of years. There's some really good material on them. they're a little expensive. You're paying album prices for something that has 4 or 5 songs. That's a little bit of a ripoff, but it is what it is. But lately he's been on this color vinyl and picture disc thing. Now this liquid vinyl is coming. But anyway, there were 4 yesterday, and I bought one of them, and you just saw it, and that's the reason I'm doing this video right now. And when I get the liquid vinyl, I'm going to do a show on that, and we'll look at it, and we'll see just how liquid it is. One last thing that I wanted to do, I've already taken the gloves off, but I'll be very careful with the vinyl. One last thing I wanted to do, because people ask me, how come you don't do this, is I want to look at it to see if it's flat. A lot of records these days, they seem to be the middle area where the spindle is, sometimes seems concave, where, you look at it on one side, and it's kind of bubbled up a little bit, and you look at it from the other side, and it's kind of sunken a little bit. I always use a weight over the spindle, so that clears up that kind of thing if it's not extreme. I don't really see any trouble with this. Hopefully you can see that that's flat on the camera. I'm not looking at it flat, but I'm showing it flat on the screen the way I'm holding it. I think it's pretty darn flat. I don't see any overrun on the edges. I don't see any flaws. I don't see any dust, scratches, smudges of any kind. It's nice and clean, even though I'm now holding it without my gloves on. It's going back in the paper sleeve for about 10 minutes, and then it's going in a poly-lined rice paper sleeve. I'll put a poly bag over the outside, and I'll put it in my collection. So anyway, that's it for today's update on Ringo's Ringo album on red molten lava vinyl. So if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. If you have any comments or thoughts, you want to fight me or disagree with me or agree with me or tell me something I don't know, I'm happy to have it all. And if you're not a member of my Facebook page, I'd love to have you over there too. Usually if I do a video, I post a link to it on the Facebook page. A lot of people, there's a lot more people on the Facebook page. There's almost 6,000 members of my group there. So a lot of people find out about these videos because the link is there, and maybe they don't subscribe, but they see the links, and they voluntarily go into at least that single video and see it because of the link. So plus I usually post static pictures of my collection that I don't do a show on. Whatever my theme of the day is, I might pull an old bootleg out of my collection or a piece of memorabilia or something. I just put up pictures of it like other people do. And the whole point of the Facebook page is, which is also called my Beatles collection, not on air, but my Beatles collection, is for people to not only share mine, but to share their own. So, I love it when people post pictures of their stuff, and I have members from all over the world, and we get new members every day from all over the world. So you would get a lot of stuff that's in different languages and different artwork and different mixes of songs, whether that's the actual audio mix or just the track list is that's like 4 different albums on there, So there's a lot of really interesting and unusual stuff on there. So it's a lot of fun to see what people have for around the world. It's a little frustrating because if you're a collector, you want it all. And most of it isn't accessible to all of us. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming up soon. There's the Christmas single re-releases by Paul and by John on color vinyl. Those are coming up in the next week. Julian Lennon has an EP that was released yesterday, but it hasn't shipped yet. So I'm not sure when they're shipping. It'll probably ship soon. I'll probably get that during the week coming up. So I'll probably do a show about that. And then, of course, we have all the Wings stuff, the Wings compilation set, the 3 LP set with color vinyl and also black vinyl. There's a single green vinyl Target exclusive for one of the compilation albums. There's the Wings book. There's the Ringo liquid that I talked about a few minutes ago. Of course, there's the anthology stuff. So there's Anthology 4 as a standalone. There's all 3 anthologies, remixed, remastered, whatever they are. So it'll be, good to talk about those. And then we have the anthology show coming up around the end of November. That'll be on Disney Plus. So there'll be a lot to talk about in the new Beatles, new solo Beatles category. And we never know from one day to the next what's going to pop up. This has been a very busy shopping season so far in the last month or so. I already did a show on the red vinyl Beatles live singles collection. I did a show on that a week ago or so. So there's always something to talk about. So like I said, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button, come back and see us, and maybe check out some of those other videos that I've already talked about. And I look forward to having you come back again. So take care for now. Bye.